Howdy, 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 and thank you for joining me tonight, folks. And I hope everyone's doing great. Nice, beautiful day here in Michigan. Wonderful temperatures. Been out in the yard working all day and getting a lot of stuff caught up. Let's see who all we got in here tonight. We got Ella York, KT Pita, Selena, Dusty Soda Fountains in the house, Laura Waldy, one of my awesome mods, always here taking care of things, Mona Englert, Sir Crepitus. What's going on, brother? Let's see. I hope you all enjoyed the chat with Sir Crepitus and Becky the other night. I think it was a really good one. A lot of things going on, and we're going to be doing a catch up on Sunday night. So, Marilee Hurd, make sure we're not. Oh, Lisa Robinson and Gary Mackey. So, Joe Gerst. Hey, Joe, how you doing? All right, Miss Sunrise Dawn and Gary Mackey, two more awesome mods that are in here tonight. Encarnasol. Sai, oh my, look at that. Now that's a fur baby right there. Mischief Managed, Sean Rawa, Thomas Foster, Verity, Debbie P, Doc, Karen Lee, Shannon Gregg, Cookie 270. Oh, what do we got here? Look at that one, and Cookie 278. Doc, let's see what we got there for Doc. Oh yeah, I forgot you got that great little lineup of you got that puppy pile going on there. Jody Q, Scooter Mom, Scientology Canada. I was looking at your thumbnail there, your profile pic. Nanya Business with that awesome cat there in it. Denise H. Let's see who else we got here. Looks like we're catching up pretty much with everybody. And folks, what we're doing tonight is we are oh my goodness. Abby D, look at that. All right. So what I'm doing here tonight is we're continuing. Oh, Mandy Gonzalez, can't forget that. And Gwen Pitka. So what we're doing tonight is continue on in the series where we're talking about how to report to whether it be police or government bodies about the wrongs that are going on in Scientology, making sure you're doing and you're making an effort to do so, and you're doing it in a way that you're getting yourself, that you're getting taken notice, that people are seeing who you are, and making sure that they understand you're not playing around, that this is serious stuff. So who better to join me for this than our pal Mona, Fat Grammy. How are we doing tonight, Mona?
Just wonderful, Poe. How are you doing tonight?
Good.
Enjoying some nice Michigan weather today. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, finally some rare, nice Michigan weather. That's for sure.
Right?
Oh, so now we had talked, and I want to make sure you're good for it. But Sunday night, Becky has agreed to come back, and I know that you had said you'd be interested in it, so I wanted to see if you're willing to come back Sunday night.
Would love to.
Excellent. That way we can give an update on what's going on with Becky and the situation there with the LAPD and how you two are working together and how we're moving forward with things. So,
sure.
Oh, awesome. That would be great. I think it'll be a really good one. And then Monday night, I'm going to be talking about fair gaming, as that question is coming up again. Quite a few people are asking me about it. I actually have a good friend of the channel who doesn't wish doesn't want their name put out there, but they have some real fears about fair gaming and the depths that Scientology is willing to go to in taking the fight to you. So
it is amazing for the fair gaming that it's almost on a level of a gnat. I mean, it's like deep. It's constant pressure. And
a constant pressure, but the difference is I to me it's more like fire ants, because it's not a matter of just the constantly doing it. It's they're aiming to hurt you in what they're doing,
right?
And so there are some real concerns about things that are going on out there. And I've had more than a few people have called me and asked me about the fact of, is it real? Does it still go on? Plus we have the question of whether or not, sometimes is it Scientology or is it other factions that are at play that are dealing with this as well? So there's a lot to talk about on that, and I'll be dealing with that Monday night. And folks, if you are someone who is in Scientology and you are wishing to make your exit, you don't know what to do, you don't know where to turn, the SPTV Foundation is there for you. We have the phone number listed there, and we have their website as well. You can email them or you can call them directly. They will be there for you. They will help you plan your exit from Scientology and try to help get you back on your feet in society and reclaim your life. So, all right, Miss Mona. Uh,
Well,
oh, you know,
I
I've been talking a lot lately. I've been trying to stay more on the positive side of things and more and try to be a help be somewhat of a guiding force in things. And I, of course, I can't do it all. You know, I still have a life outside of the SPTV universe. Married, children. We got, you know, a whole bunch of things going on, and that's where I'm really thankful to have someone like you, who not only are you an inspiration to others in the fact that you can, but you are actually doing. And so that's why I'm very happy to have you on board and be able to have you as someone I can consider not only as a friend, but as a resource in this fight
well,
against.
thank you. I appreciate that, and believe me, the feeling's mutual. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Oh, have you seen the fake YouTube SPTV YouTube channel?
I have not, but
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
look into it. Is it fun? Is it weird?
Oh, it's like S.P.T.V Foundation or something like that is their name. When I saw them, they had like 140 subscribers. I don't know how they're doing now, but
Oh my
you know,
goodness.
they're doing, hit pieces on people and things like that. So it's all I they came in one of my comments and said, "We're going to fact check you and we're going to do this, we're going to do that." And their biggest claim to fame is sometime when I first started doing the SPTV stuff, I talked about if someone comes in trolling, I'm not worrying about it. I'm not paying any attention to it. I'm just going to keep doing my thing. I'm not even going to delete their comments. Well, you know what? I'm just like everybody else. I have my limits, and they tested my limits pretty well. So I'm not, now if you want to come in and post trolling stuff or anything like that, I'm just deleting it. I'm not even worrying about it because I'm not going to have that negativity on the viewers and everything. So
There's no
it's,
sense to it whatsoever.
it's amazing that, we're supposed to be, every time that we do something, the comment is we all need to be working together. We need to focus on Scientology. Well, there seems to be a whole lot of focus being made on the SPTV family and coming out against us. And
Creating division.
yeah,
Yeah.
and doing exactly the kind of work that Scientology does, and trying to create more problems within this community. So it's ridiculous. That and the factions of people. Oh, you can't talk about anybody else. If you do, then that's bad. I had someone actually make the comment that before I say anything on a live stream, maybe I should talk to them about it before I do it. I'm sorry, I'm a grown person. I'm not going to ask anybody for permission before I speak. This is, I live in the United States. We have freedom of speech. And as long as I'm not violating the tenets of the freedom of speech, I'm not asking anybody for permission. So,
Well, and it's not like you're a priest and you're supposed to keep everything quiet. I mean, this
yeah.
is all public information. This is all public documentation. So you have freedom of speech to talk about anything.
And that's the thing is that, we, um, if I'm coming out and I'm saying something is something I see that I think is a problem or could cause problems for people, I'm doing it under the fact that I'm trying to be helpful. I'm not trying to be someone who's dragging people down. Yeah, let's see. I was just looking in the SP under 200 subscribers. They got 53 videos. Um, yeah. Oh wow, they haven't attacked me in a while. That's interesting. Um, I know that they had a couple of them out there on me, but huh, life's
Oh,
rough.
cool. I can see the comments too. I guess it helps to say to click comments instead of private chat. There you go.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you how I got to see the comments too.
Mm.
There
Let's
we
see.
go.
Let's see here. I'm trying to look through
Just
here.
a little bit of user error.
Oh, let's see. Yeah, I'm just checking through the comments there. Um, Cookie 278. Who can the protesters go to concerning lack of action from LAPD in regards to barbecue attack by a provable Scientology shill?
That's a great question. That's exactly what we're gonna talk about.
Yeah, exactly. And it's folks, if you think that there's going to be an immediate answer to anything that, we're talking about, if you've never heard the statement, this is a great example of you can't fight City Hall. Bureaucracy is a monster. You got to hit it head on, and you got to hit it the right way, or you're not going to get anything done. That's why I keep saying share um share Becky's video where she went into LAPD headquarters with every media outlet that you can find. And the reason for that is the if we get it on one news station, then that's one news station that is putting out this information about what's going on in the world with LAPD and how they are taking the side of Scientology over everyone else. What I'm doing while I'm talking is I'm trying to pull up the video of it. So there we go. All right. So I'm going to pull up the link to that video real quick. And folks, share that with every media outlet, whether it be news, whether it be television news, newspapers, social media, all that. Everybody needs to know. The more that we put it out there, the quicker it's going to start bringing things to a change there.
Especially a
Um,
video like that that's very self-explanatory. You don't have to
yeah,
give it too much backdrop or history. It's
yeah.
self-explained.
Oh, when you have someone like Becky who's standing there and you could tell that she's bothered about what's going on. She's a victim of SA herself in the past, and now she's had this happen. She's literally just asking for help, and you've got this officer go, I,
Yeah, really? Yeah, whatever.
yeah,
Some say
I
la vie.
and Sir Crepidus, as to your question, yes, I think he's done 2 or 3 different videos where he's talked about me, but I don't give him the time of day. I haven't even seen the videos. I don't even care about it. So that's
Mm.
the uh, that's the
Well,
joy of.
speaking of keeping things on the positive side, that's kind
Mhm,
of what I've always done is trying to keep things on the positive side. I am a results-oriented person.
mhm,
When I look at a problem, I look at the solution, and that's what I visualize. And then I work myself backwards from there, going, okay, how do I get to that solution? How do I get to those results? Versus a process oriented person who goes through a process to figure out what the result's going to be.
right.
No, we're not going to figure out what color the paper needs to be.
Yeah, I don't care if it's goldenrod, blue, or whatever. Um,
Exactly.
so if it's okay with you, I'm going to go ahead and pull that document up, and
Sure.
we can talk about that. Right.
These
So,
are
and
just some basic steps that I normally take. It's a to-do list. Um, that I normally look at. In this case, we're gonna look at the LAPD and Scientology relationship, the landscape for it. And I wanna be able to change that landscape. I wanna be able to have an effect on it. And so where do I need to go from there? And then I work myself backwards from there by, start with, researching the history of where it's at, what happened, how it got there. Looking at LAPD and Scientology, that's probably one of the longest histories in the
right.
United States for Scientology
Well,
is Los Angeles.
before we go too far into that, for folks who don't know who Mona is, and if you don't know by now, um, I see that there's a few people. The first time I've seen them in the chat there, Mona is. Well, you tell them who you are.
Wife, mom, mother, grandmother. Happened to be a paraplegic. Right now, I finally got MRIs back on my shoulders, so I get to work on getting them back into shape, get the tendons healed,
So how
and
they what are they planning with the healing process for the tendons in your shoulders?
shots for steroids, I think, is what they
Wow.
give you a shot for in both shoulders, and then physical therapy, working on strengthening my arms, my shoulders, my core, so that way my tendons will heal.
And if
Versus
I
having surgery, which would be an automatic couple of months of not moving.
yeah, you'd really be stuck at that point. I think that that would be wow. But hopefully this is going to work out the right way and you're going to be in a lot better shape soon here. Did you see we got Miss Becky's in the house tonight? So
Hey,
hey,
Pinche Becky.
how you doing, darling? You know, so folks, if you don't realize, and you're from the rib cage down, if I remember correctly,
From
the
the
is
sternum down, right, from the
sternum down.
breastbone down.
Yeah, and you know, as in the thumbnail for the last time you were on, we showed you were just how you're not letting that hold you back. You're sitting there in your wheelchair. You've got your horse with you. You got one of your dogs there with you. And quite honestly, I mean that dog's so big you can't really tell the difference between the horse and the dog. So, um, but you know that when you sent me that picture, I thought that was the perfect example because that shows, you know, how you are not going to let something hold you down. You are a fighter and you're going to continue to fight no matter what. So that's why you know, I wasn't surprised, you know, after seeing that picture and after hearing your story, I was not surprised that you had gotten the meeting with the OIG, which is the Office of Inspector General for the City of Los Angeles Police Department. And you have another one coming up, or you've already had it?
We already had that meeting. Right now, I'm working on the federal OIG for the
Awesome.
Department of Justice. And I
Wow.
had if you don't mind me like kind of going a little bit through that,
Go
I
ahead.
had submitted a claim to the OIG for the Department of Justice against the FBI. The FBI, they kicked it out to the FBI, so they kind of like submitting a resume online.
Mhm.
The computer didn't kick it back. The computer said, "Oh, great. Okay, this is a claim. We're going to send you to the next level." The
Wow.
next level, of course, is the FBI, and they they do a thing where they try and shake you out. When you submit a claim, you do just a real general claim, then they try and shake you out to see how serious you really are. And if you're not that serious or if you don't really have a claim, then it kind of goes away. But if you do, then normally what will happen is you you don't get shook out and it goes back to the OIG. Does that make sense?
Yep. And yeah, you gotta
So now
remember
we're
30,
back to the OIG.
30 plus years of being and dealing with bureaucracy and how those things work. Yeah, I'm quite familiar with how they do that. So
I have to
wow.
give the FBI agent totally ticked me off. And I guess my perseverance, sometimes it's a good thing, but oh my gosh, he just so ticked me off because I had asked for a reasonable accommodation. He had
Mhm.
wanted me to mail in, since I'm a third party, I am not the
Right.
victim, I am not the survivor of the attacks or the abuse. And they told me, he said, "Well, you need to send it in hard copy." And I said, "Well, look, I'm crying a little bit of a river here, but I'm stuck in bed. I can't get up. I can't go to the post office box. I'm asking for a reasonable accommodation due to my
Right.
disability for you to, give me an email to where I can email it to you." Well, he said, No, you obviously can use your hands. You answered the phone." Straight through the roof.
Yeah, that's you know, the thing
Oh,
is that having an uncle um who is deaf, he, you know, he has a system where he doesn't have to doesn't have to touch anything. It will answer it, show everything that is being displayed. You know, everything that's being said, it automatically puts it to text for him. I have friends who are
Exactly.
blind that they, you know, it does the exact same thing, except it translates written things into spoken word for them. There are people who cannot use a phone, period, can't use their hands. And, you know, so I would think that this FBI agent's attitude and actions actually goes against the ADA policy, doesn't it?
It does. Well, Section 504, right, it does. And I submitted a claim against him also for that. And I don't normally, but that was just rude. That was discrimination and rude.
Yeah.
So,
Um, so you plan on doing anything about that?
well, you just submit it and you don't really hear anything back on those type of claims. But
Wow.
on the major claim, yes, I probably will receive information, and then there's more to that, which I can't speak of yet.
Hmm.
Um, but there is more to the OIG DOJ, and then also since the IRS, I finally found their published agreement with Scientology from back in 1999. I found the
Wow.
leaked document. And so I put in the same claim through TIOGA, which is the IRS OIG. I'm having fun with this OIG stuff.
Yeah.
You might
And
as well.
Sir Crepitus has an excellent point here. Unfortunately, when dealing with any law enforcement, you have to advocate for yourself and be persistent, or you might get the brush off. It's ridiculous, and that's true. You're seeing it,
That's
aren't you?
so normal. That's so normal.
Yep.
Because even when I did the LAPD OIG, the first response was, and it was a really nice guy, really great investigator, called me and said, "Okay, so this is what you need to do. Have everybody submit individual claims, very similar to the FBI." And I said, "No, this is an aggregated claim. That's not going to happen that way." So again, had to bounce back. It's a dance.
Yeah.
It's just a dance. So don't be when people are submitting these claims or information, don't get discouraged by having somebody say no the first time. They're trying to shake
Oh
you
yeah.
out. They're trying to make sure you're serious.
And that's a big thing with it is that they will test you to see whether or not you are willing to go the extra mile on things.
Mhm.
One of the things I found absolutely amazing is, especially with the Department of Justice, is they demand transparency from everyone that they deal with, yet they are one of the most closed off organizations I've ever seen. They refuse to talk or give you information, but demand you give them everything.
Right.
Uh, it's crazy. And everybody say howdy to my buddy Dave from Gotta Love Thailand. So, you know, folks, if you think that this doesn't it doesn't get out there. You know, how many times have we seen we have a lot of people from Australia, from New Zealand. We now have folks from the Philippines, from I have a couple of people that are from Japan that are now messaging me because they're watching the content. We have Dave from Thailand. We have other folks from Thailand that come in here as well. We have Sharifa from the Netherlands that comes in quite often. We have a lot of people from the Scandinavian countries. So this is worldwide. People are watching from all over the world for this. So don't think this is a singular kind of movement that's just where you're at or it just affects the United States and Canada. This is worldwide. People are paying attention and people are learning about Scientology and what they're doing. Also, be advised that the way that we handle things here in the United States or the way that they're going to handle things in Canada or in Great Britain is not going to always translate to where you're at. So,
No, but it's
you
gonna
know,
be it's gonna be similar. The names may change, but the
well,
processes are gonna still be the same.
some countries don't allow for the you know for you to file complaints against government agencies, things like that. Other countries are amazing about it. If you file a complaint, boom, they're on it. But there are a lot of countries out there where trying to file a complaint against a government agency is ridiculously hard if it's allowed at all. It's a crazy world out there. But I just wanted to make the point that this isn't just an American thing. This isn't a just a Canadian or or a British thing. It's worldwide. We got people watching from all over and people that are involved in so
It
many
is
different
worldwide.
countries. Absolutely. If you knew how many people that are tuning in and it's the middle of the night for them, because they're like Dave over there in Thailand. It's Dave, what is it? 7:26 in the morning there for you? And I
Oh
know
my
because you're
goodness.
old like me. What's that?
Said, "Oh my goodness."
Yeah, he's old like me, so he's up at the butt crack of dawn there. So, and then we have young people like Matthew the King, who's here with us. Uh, he's restreaming this to Mars. Roughly 25,000 Martians are hooked in on the Scientology saga. That's awesome, Matthew.
Is that near
Uh,
Planet 2?
oh yeah. What was the name of the home world in um, Battlefield Earth?
I haven't a clue.
I can't remember. That's one of those movies. If I want a laugh, that's the kind of movie that I watch because it's so ridiculously stupid. Oh my gosh! So let me pull that
Pull the sheet
document back
back
up.
up.
All right. So the way that it starts off is, what is your end goal? Change the LAPD Scientology landscape. I think that could apply to so many different things. It doesn't just have to be the LAPD Scientology. It could be Denver, it could be Clearwater, it can be the FBI, the IRS, any of them.
It
But
could be, and my original plan to do on this was to revoke 501(c)(3) for Scientology,
right.
and I just went boom, 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 "This is what I need to do, this is who I need to get a hold of," and I changed it for this for the landscape because we're talking about 1, LAPD, and 2, right now they're starting to ratchet up Scientology's starting to ratchet up their processes and their fair gaming and their, um where they're calling in for them to look at the chalk to see if
Mhm.
it's hate crimes, that's a ratchet up. They're turning up the heat just a little bit, and we need to also.
Yeah, and I think that that's a valid point. It went from, we can't do anything about it. It's freedom of speech to now, well, let's go at it from the standpoint of this is hate speech. And I think
Right.
that that's an excellent point of the fact that they're starting to step up their game in it as well. We already know they have the fair gaming down pretty good, but they're starting to
Right.
look into new avenues. I don't know how they can do it because it's not in the tech from L. Ron Hubbard, but we'll see how it goes.
Well, they're
Um,
just squirreling it.
yeah, there you go. That's perfect.
So
So it
after
says,
I'm looking at all the research of the history and what has happened in the past, and then
mhm,
I identify my target. Is it LAPD? Is it Scientology?
right.
Who do I think I can have the most effective change with? LAPD or Scientology? And obviously, it's certainly not Scientology. And I
That's
do
the other.
believe LAPD has you can get in there. You can look at what processes can be um ponied up to.
Well, think about it. Becky was at the LAPD Police Commission meeting and spoke there. You're not going to be able to do that at Scientology events. You're not even getting in
No,
the door. So you have the easiest access, which is going to be to LAPD. You have access not only to the department itself, but you have access through the different forms of procedures for, bringing in complaints, talking about ways that things need to be changed. And if that doesn't work within the department, then you go above them to the city level. But LAPD would certainly be the one that would be the easiest to get into. So that's an excellent way. And then when you were talking about researching the history, I mean, that's a very effective tool on that, because when you're talking about the LAPD, you talk about a department that for so long was considered the pinnacle of law enforcement greatness in worldwide. People looked up to the LAPD worldwide and how that they handle
sure.
law enforcement. To see them fall to this level that they're at now, where they're under such disrepute and that people have such bad feelings towards the LAPD. That all is, we were talking about when you filed your initial report with the OIG. You were talking about the things, the money wise, which is always a big thing for bureaucrats, but also the history and showing how this department has gone from being here to way down here and how they stand in the view of the people and other agencies worldwide. And I
That's
think that
very that's very important.
yeah.
Yeah. And part of researching that history is finding out and researching what's normal.
Hmm.
So doing that,
Excellent.
asking you,
Yeah.
asking
Precedent.
Poe, asking Sir Crepitus, what
Yeah.
is normal for this? What should it be like?
And what's the precedent for things?
What's
How
the
have they handled
precedent?
things like this in the past? I think,
Yep.
yeah, that's excellent. And folks, if what we're doing here is we're basically trying to give you a roadmap or a checklist of things that when you're starting to look into, and like I said, this doesn't have to be LAPD. This could be Denver, Clearwater, it could be Cincinnati, Columbus, whatever department you're looking at, whatever agency you're looking at. These are things that can help you organize and formalize your thought process and the procedure that you're going to use in doing this. So we've gone over the researching the history, identifying the target, and then the next is identify the SWOT
It's
of the
this
organization as
this
in
is
their
just a
best run.
regular old corporate action. SWOT is your strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat. And you can
Absolutely.
place this anywhere it really fits in best. But I
Yeah,
feel when after you've identified the target, you're gonna look at their ruin, you're gonna look at how to get into them best. So you're gonna look at your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and threats. A strength would be is that LAPD can and should be one of the premier police departments of the world. They should be.
absolutely.
That's a great strength. They have a huge staff. They have, they say they always need more police officers, but they do have a lot of police officers already. They have a
Absolutely.
lot of units. They have half the city budget, so they have so many strengths that we can delve into with them and work with them on. Now, what's a weakness?
Right.
Corrupt as hell.
Yeah.
They're
Um,
really corrupt and they're very bought.
Officers who want to spend more time trying to be movie stars than being or rock stars than being police officers. You know,
Mhm.
they have officers who I heard from someone that there's a high amount that don't live in LA, which I understand that it's very expensive to live there. But there are a number of LAPD officers who don't even live in the state of California per their address. So, I mean, that if that's not a concern to the LAPD, I don't know what is a concern. Your officers are coming in, grabbing a paycheck, and going home. How do you build community relations with officers who are only there just to get and Sir Crepitus can back this. A lot of officers will go to a department like LAPD because they want experience, which allows them to go to the more ritzy departments and say, hey, look, I've handled pretty much every kind of law enforcement call you're ever going to have. I've
Gives
done
them
this, and
experience.
this. And then they go to these departments that are very that pay a whole lot better and have a better pension. So you have that, and you've got to find ways that you get your officers involved in their community and have a direct interest in making sure that the community does better. But I
Yeah,
wanted to talk
another
about something here real
it's
quick. Cookie said the media may not feel friendly towards the LAPD, but they obviously shy away from incidents involving Scientology. This is why the incident with Becky is so, and I don't want to say it. I don't want it to come out the wrong way, but the incident with Becky is a prime example because it's not a matter of when you turn it over to the news outlets, it's not a matter of Scientology. It's a matter of look what the LAPD did to this woman, how they treated her, someone who's a volunteer to the community. That's why I think this one has a great shot at getting more coverage than the swatting and everything that's been going on with the protesters, is that This doesn't focus on Scientology. This focuses on one of the rots that is going on in the LAPD. And rots, I mean the infection, whatever you want to call it, the disease, the corruption, the
Yeah.
just lack of wanting to be a police officer. This plays right into that. And that's why I think it's important. So,
So another weakness you're just saying it is their reputation. You know,
absolutely.
the reputation has just gone downhill and the trust. You, of all people in this world, you should be able to trust your authorities. You should be able to trust a police officer. That's
Hmm.
who you run to when you have a problem. That's who you call as 911. That's who you're supposed to be able to rely on. And a huge weakness is when you don't trust the police. That's huge. That's huge.
Absolutely. That's a failure of the police. That's not a failure of you. That's a failure
Mm,
of either the police administration or the bureaucracy that runs the police department or an overall problem within the police agency itself that causes that mistrust.
yeah, and
So,
that's huge with LAPD. And when we saw that in Becky, you
yeah.
know, that was just a prime example. So
Yeah.
the opportunity, we as a community have the opportunity to make a change with that. We have the opportunity to put it on the right course, put it back on the rails, put it back in the seat to where it, and it may not be a short-term goal. It may not be something that's going to happen by Tuesday at 5, but it can happen. That can be turned around. Every breath you take, you have an opportunity to change. And
Absolutely.
every breath they take, they have the opportunity to change. And using that opportunity, an example was I was talking with some folks today about um, in in the comment that I left at the commission meeting, even though I wasn't there, I went ahead and emailed it into them. Was why don't you send a couple of police officers to the next barbecue you see they're having? Sit and talk to some of these survivors and figure out what they're yelling about.
Yeah. And that's the
Blow your
thing is
mind.
that
It would take a half an hour to an hour of their time, and what a relationship building process that could be.
you know
One thing.
there was a huge move back in the 90s, and that's when I was brought into the community policing. There was a step away from the police officers of the 40s, 50s, and starting into the 60s. There started to be this change where they went away from officers were part of the community and they were looked up to as almost like family, elder family, that kind of stuff where people respected police. Children could Children looked up to the police officers. And then in the 60s, moving into the 70s, 80s, and into the early 90s, there was this move where they went away from being more community driven to more technology and trying to, you know, be the strong force that's out there. And then in the mid 90s to late 90s, there started being a change where they wanted to come back to start bringing in more of the community policing. But I think one of the problems is that departments like LA, yeah, they have, thousands of officers, and then they probably have like 100 community resource officers. It's very, every officer that's out there should be a community resource officer, not just a police officer. And I think that's one movement we need to start getting back to. But yeah, if we
Well,
can't get
haven't
the
they all
politics,
don't they all wear the same badge, and didn't they take the
yeah.
same oath
Hmm.
to protect and serve, or whatever their cadence
But
is, whatever it
apparently,
is?
within a department like LAPD, just because you wear that badge doesn't mean you have to do that job. I mean, we saw it from the guy there in headquarters who refused to do
It's
anything for
true.
Becky other than give her a couple of sheets of paper and tell her, "Here's what you got to do."
This
You
is
know,
true. So
couldn't
moving on
couldn't.
to the threat. I guess the threat is
Mhm.
it could be worse.
Yeah.
It could be worse. It could get more corrupt. It could get more pot. It could they could make it worse. So that's
Absolutely.
the biggest threat.
And I think that that's the thing is that, without checks and balances, pulling them into the public light, making them accountable for what they're doing, that threat will be able to grow. And if they feel that they're untouchable and nothing can happen to them, then who's going to stop them from doing what they want to do?
Right. That's true.
That's the thing. So after
So then
that,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to read it. Where do we need to go to solve the problem? So the first one there is,
This is kind of my who, what, where, when, and why deals. Besides the SWAT is just answering the W's. And do I need to go? And I'm going to kind of read through these fast because I have a process for this.
okay.
Is it a government, federal or state agency? Is it a municipal agency, law enforcement, the councils and committees, which are your local neighborhood councils, police and community boards? Is it the media or the public? And so I want to do some research into where my time spent is going to be the best. Because if this is a city problem, going to the feds for LAPD isn't going to do a darn bit of good. I can go scream at FBI all I want and it's not going to do anything because I have to go to the municipal or the law enforcement themselves. So you really need to make a judgment call on where could I go. Now, anything below municipal on these would work for the LAPD because I'm going to go to the law enforcement them direct, the councils and committees. And if I could take just a minute to kind of go on those councils and committees, every
Go ahead.
town, every city, every state, every county, or unless you're in a borough, you all have councils and committees that the mayor or the governor has, town,
Well, let's
whomever,
be honest. If there's one thing that bureaucracy is good at, it's councils and committees.
and meetings and meetings and more
Mhm.
meetings.
Yep.
Now, the issue is that yes, there are some that are elected. Usually those are the higher positions like a municipal commission seat, stuff like that. But most councils and committees are the governor selects them or the mayor selects them. And
Right.
if you want to know the inner works of how things go in city government, volunteer some time. Learn how it works. It
Yep.
could be 1 hour a month or 1 hour a quarter for a couple of years. And
Yep.
if you and not only does it give you an idea of how things work in your community and how things progress and process, it also gives you credence in other areas. So if you are on the ethics council, for gosh sakes, and you need to talk to somebody over at the animal rights council, it gives you leverage. I hate to say it, but it does. And it also brings you in the government fold of information. So I highly recommend people sit and to be real honest, those are the hardest positions to fill. Mayors and governors eat it up when people say, "Hey, I'll volunteer. Put me where you need me."
Absolutely. And I could tell you folks from my own experience, I have seen cities that do not have a police department, a fire department, a public works department. They literally have a mayor and council, and they probably don't even get paid in some of these, but they have a mayor and council, but they have probably 10 committees or 10
Right.
commissions that operate under their umbrella. And those are almost always they're not paid. So as Mona's saying here, if you're able to get involved and be a volunteer for one of these committees or one of these appointed seats, they love that stuff because that helps them to say, look what we've done. And it's just another feather in their cap. So they love it when they have people that are willing to volunteer. So
Sure.
I could tell you that I've seen that personally.
Another thing that it really helps when you're on the councils or committees, it helps you research and discover what purview is.
Mhm.
Because let's say on the La Poubelle issue, and I won't name names, a very good friend of mine, I love him dearly, but when they went into the alcohol board, the alcohol license board hearing that was happening, they brought in the fact that the tent outside wasn't ADA correct, that the dimensions weren't ADA, Americans with Disabilities. So the alcohol board is like, okay, what do you want us to do about it? Because that's not their purview. Their
Sure.
purview is alcohol license, alcohol certificates, and that type. And so when you start learning purview, it's like even with OIG, their purview is not policing.
Right.
They have a certain purview. So you need to look at what that purview is and go by that. So I'm hoping this helps. And it's good information. Don't get too bored on me.
Oh, I don't I personally I don't think this is boring at all. I think that, we're constantly talking about we need to do something, we need to up our game. This is one of the ways that we do it is that if Scientology is able to get the ear of bureaucrats and law enforcement agencies and the elected officials, why can't we? Why can't we take a page from that very same book and do exactly the same kind of stuff where we are now getting people who are like-minded onto these committees, people who are like-minded who are now being consultants to different organizations within these cities and states and villages and counties and all that. That's
I'm
I
telling
think that
you, in LA, they have the community police CPABs, CPABs, and I know Audit LA talks about this all the time. Just about every single one of their CPABs, which is the Community and Police Action Board. There you
Mhm.
go. And so they talk it out, and then they tell the police commission and the mayor what their community's ideas and policies should be. Every single one of those CPABs has a person from Scientology on them.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that if if we can start taking those seats, we can start filling those open positions. People who are here not just for the Scientology aspect of it, but for the simple fact of improving on LAPD.
Mhm.
That's what we need to start doing. We need to start going into a route where instead of, we continue the protests, we continue the audits, we continue the fight on that front, we continue to keep exposing things, but we also start looking into it from the standpoint of how do we actually start making changes within these government agencies. And I think that that's a very important point that needs to be made. So
Sure, and so if it's not sitting on the committees and commissions or talking with the media, it's going to those meetings like Becky did with the police commission,
or
finding out
advising,
and
you
what?
can become an advisor or a consultant very easily
Very
to
much
these
so.
organizations. Or you can get to know the people who are on those committees and start talking to them, you know?
So on that police commission, the vice president, I'm not getting her name correct, but she is a lawyer, she's an attorney, and she was um in charge of RICO prosecutions and all sorts of fun stuff. It was like, oh yeah, she's a good one to get the ear, bend her ear a little bit. You
Yeah.
need to see who's on there and figure out where your attention needs to go to.
I'm trying to find the actual website on it, but doing it right here on the spot, it's a little bit different. But yeah, this the CPAB, the Citizens Police Advisory Board, but it's trying to navigate the the LA website is like a maze in itself. So, but that's the points that you're bringing up. I think that these are the ways that we start stepping our fight up that much more. It's not a matter of we have to stop doing X or Y and move to Z. No, this is where what I'm talking about for the folks who can't be out there being doing the protesting, the folks who aren't going, who can't or don't want to have a YouTube channel, but you still want to be involved in the fight. When we look back through this list here, when you're looking at the different things, researching the history, how many people that are part of the SPTV family that don't, they aren't on any of the live streams, don't have a channel, but you have the ability that you can find things on the internet like that.
Oh, it's an open book.
There you go. You can research the history. You can actually look at these different agencies or these different organizations, follow the SWAT technique, find out what the strength of that organization is, what are their weaknesses, what is an opportunity for you to actually become involved and have or at least be able to make contact with them to start trying to change their mindset or how they do things and what kind of threat that organization is. And then we go down into it with, we know what kind of agency it is, whether it's a state agency or a federal agency, municipal, law enforcement, council or committee, media, or the public. All these things that you can do sitting there at your computer. And that's ways that you can be part of it and you can make changes. And that's why I keep coming back to you, Mona, as you are an inspiration to a lot of people, simply for the fact you realize you can't be out there protesting. It's going to be hard for you to make some of these meetings, but you have the ability to sit there and be able to start researching and looking deep into things and finding out the different elements of it that are going to make an impact on what's going on. And I think that
I know
you know
Audit and I talk all the time about the micro and the macro
mhm,
of working on this stuff. And she's there, she's boots on the ground. She happens to be in a chair also.
mhm,
And she goes to these meetings and she talks in these meetings. Sometimes she streams, sometimes she doesn't. I think she's really backed off protesting because she's more involved with going to the meetings and finding out information. And if she can't go physically, she does like I do. Just the power of technology nowadays is you can Zoom almost any meeting.
absolutely. I was in the LAPD police commission meeting that Becky spoke at. I was watching on Zoom. And thank you to Becky for making me one of her mods there, because I was able to copy the link and put it right into the chat there. So if anybody wanted to go to it, they could go to that Zoom meeting and watch what was going on. I was actually in line waiting to speak when they just
So
shut
was
down
I.
all public participation. So,
So was I. They only give 45 minutes total.
and
So they
that's
go
amazing.
I know, they go back and forth, but they'll take everybody that's there,
Right.
that's in person, and then whoever can go online too. So, yeah, I was waiting to also, but again, they don't not take your comments, you just email it to them, or fax
Okay.
it to them, or mail it to them. So they still get your comments, they still get you, they just don't get the tone of your voice.
I just wanted to get it on record as a retired chief of police speaking to the chief of police, asking him how he can sit there and not feel a sense of shame after
Yeah.
seeing what happened to Becky.
Yeah, that would have been nice. That would have been really nice.
Yeah, that
So, and then doing what you had suggested, get these videos out to the public, get them out to the media,
mhm.
and, media pressure and public pressure is huge. You have to use it in the right vein. It
We're
doesn't do you any good if it's just gonna cause you a hassle, and if you don't need to, why?
Yeah.
But if you do, like in Becky's case, put it out there. That's a great venue.
Absolutely. And I also think that being someone who's not involved with the protests, someone who is not doing the auditing, gives you a leg up in the situation, so to speak. And I'm not trying to be mean or rude about that. How I'm saying, I thought about that after I said it. I'm like, oh, hey, dummy. But it
Whatever.
gives
You
you.
do that all the time. It's not that big of a deal.
I know I'm just so stupid hillbilly, but the thing is that what it does is it gives you an opportunity because you're an unknown variant.
Right.
You're coming in and you're volunteering for these different kinds of committees and things like that. You're being involved, and they don't know who you are. They don't know what your end game is, what you're doing. I mean, do you think that
No.
Scientology sends people into these kinds of groups and they walk in and go, "Hi, I'm here from Scientology and I'm here to make sure that you do what Scientology wants." No, they're doing it on the down low. They're trying to do it covert.
That's
So
right.
having folks who aren't out there protesting, folks who aren't in the public eye, you have a better chance of actually getting in there, getting in those seats and getting your voice heard. Um, Now Perth, no, as far as we know, the mayor isn't a Scientologist, but if I'm wrong, someone please let me know. But the mayor Karen Bass, her connection is that she spoke at a Scientology event or events where she praised all the work that Scientology has done and how what a great group they are.
Right.
That's one of the things. And you would know Mona. I don't believe she is a Scientologist, is
I
she?
don't I don't think she is. No.
Okay. So yeah, I think that she's just like a lot of people, she's used Scientology to help advance her way into the world. And I think that into the world of politics and strengthen her ground. But I don't think she's actually a Scientologist. There we go. Sir Crepitus
Yeah.
is not a Scientologist, but they donate to her campaign. There you go. So
Now,
that's
word on the street is that she is trying to distance herself from the association and affiliation of Scientology.
right.
So there's an opportunity to bring that bring that to fruition for her.
Yeah, and that's one of the things, and that came out during the campaign where both she and her opponent were they were both linked to Scientology, but her opponent not quite as deep as her, and her opponent was trying to use that against her.
Right.
And she's been ever since then, she's been trying to distance herself from Scientology. So, and folks, make sure you get over to Mona's channel and you hit that subscribe, show some love to Mona. She is doing
Thank you.
the work behind the scenes that a lot of us, I can't do it. I, I'll tell you right now. You know, you have a talent and a knack for it. There's certain everybody has their own talents and skill levels. Me, I can hop around the web. I can use like the photoshopping kind of imagery, do those kinds of things. But when it comes to actually deep diving into things like you do, that's one of my limitations. And I think that having someone like you in this fight makes it very strong. And I know that there's hundreds, if not thousands, of others out there who can do that as well. We just need to start getting
Exactly.
everybody moving with it.
And
So
having Serge and Lara and Liz and all of them and what they went through is it puts a fire under your biscuits.
oh yeah,
It burns your
absolutely.
biscuits, as
There you
Marilyn would
go.
say. It burns your biscuits, and it makes you want to do this. It helps. I'm just like anybody else. If I don't have something at the end of it, I'm probably not going to work too hard at it. But
And that's the
it
thing is that you just have you don't have to do this full time. That doesn't have to be it doesn't have to consume your life. You know, an hour a day, hour
true.
every 2 days, something like that.
Yeah, and that
But-
kind of leads us into the next point is do you just do it on your own or do you get a couple of
right.
people to team with you? On the OIG meetings, I felt really, really bad because at first, I put a couple of people, a team together. First, nobody was answering my emails. I mean, I love you to death, Poe, but you didn't even answer my emails. But because everybody was so inundated and nobody understood, I wasn't making myself clear. Finally did, but the original team, I ended up. I know Mindy Willens was on that team, and she was fabulous. She got me hooked up with people. She was a wonderful, wonderful resource. But then once we got into where we had to go dark, I I had to say we need to go. We need to bring it into just a couple of people because we had to go dark, so we didn't get fair gamed, so we didn't get our legs cut out from underneath of us. Ha! See, I'll make my own disability joke.
Oh, I'm usually the one going, "Oh, did I really say that?" But you know, that's a very good point about it is, also if you are worried about the fair gaming and what could happen if you're one of the people in the background in the shadows who's doing this kind of work and they don't even know who you are, it's kind of hard to fair game someone you don't even know exists. But,
Yep,
like you were talking, and that leads right into the point where you were talking about when you first started emailing me. I get so many emails every day, and I don't know who is what, who is friendly, who is not friendly. Those are all things that I have to take into account with every single email I get. Now I have,
understandable.
yeah, I have, now I know. I've got, you, Sir Crepitus, Marjan. I know when Laura Waldy or Gary sends me an email. When different people like that send me an email, I know, hey, let me take a look at this. Let me see what's going on with it. But I also, when it comes to things like this, I also want folks, I want you to realize I have a family. I have, we're doing a lot of things family wise. We're preparing for the next steps in our lives as, husband and wife. And what we want to start traveling and doing a lot more things like that. So when folks say, well, we need you to get involved in this, or we need you to get involved in that, you got to remember, I may not have the ability to get involved with those things. So I think that that's something when you're looking at what you're wanting to do with these kinds of things, you also need to SWOT yourself. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your abilities? And
Mhm.
I think that's very important. Um,
But if you turn that email issue on its head, when
mhm.
you are you as a person trying to find this stuff out and you're emailing the mayor, and it's just little old you that's emailing the mayor, you need to put a subject line that's pertinent. You need to put your facts and figures in there because, again, um, a really bad story and a tragic story without receipts when it comes to police, law enforcement, and the judicial system is just a sad story without receipts. You have to have facts and figures and you have to be able to get their attention. And so when you're working with the mayor, the governor, the committees, the police department, usually it's best to be just blunt.
Absolutely. I think that, you need to put it out there from the get-go. You need to explain what is going on. And, exactly like you said, when I was talking about the report you gave to the OIG and the fact that you weren't, you not only had them in there, but you literally made a section of it about the receipts. And I think that that nothing speaks volumes more than proof that you can literally shove in a bureaucrat or a politician or an administrator's face when they say, well, I don't know if that's really happening. Okay, well, here's some video of it. Tell me what's going on with this video.
Well,
I think those are all very, go ahead.
a municipality, a government, a corporation, a person, nobody changes unless they want to or have to.
Right.
That's just life. And so if you can't make them want to, then you have to make them have to, and that sometimes hurts.
Yeah. And that's, um, if anything is horrible at changing and adapting and becoming something new, it's bureaucracy. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh. They absolutely hate it. Unless, of course, it means more money for their personal interests, then they, of course, they're all for it. So,
Sure, look at
uh,
all the corporations. If it's a positive ROI, return on investment, that changes lickety split, and don't you go home with by 5 o'clock unless it's done. But
yep,
if it's not, or if it's gonna cost them money, which most change does, then they drag their feet out until they absolutely have to.
yeah,
That's
and
life,
yeah, I mean, why fix what is being profitable for you and getting you the accolades and the things that you want? When why change that if you can just go ahead and keep things going the way that they are? I think that that's one way. I think bureaucracy is a lot like Scientology, whereas they don't want to change. They want to keep things the way it is. Let's see here. I'm just looking, making sure we're not missing anything. Okay. But one of the things I like you have in this in the listing here is when you're talking about if it's going to be a team, not only just picking how many people that you want to have for it, but what skill sets are the best. And I think that that's a very important thing when you're putting together your team or anything, is making sure that they that you're meeting the needs. Because if you've got 10 people who are good at researching and nobody's good at speaking, or no one's good at putting together a document or a form to present to these bureaucracies, you're kind of limiting yourself in what you're doing.
right?
But I think it's very important that you lay out your plan. It's okay to have a team of mostly researchers, as long as you have a mouthpiece, or you have the person who's really good at being able to put thoughts into an actual document to present to
I
these
can think of
organizations.
so many accountant jokes right now, but we won't.
Yeah,
And I mean, that's like having too many number crunchers. Everybody's going to crunch the numbers and nobody counts the pennies.
exactly. And I think, and I think that folks really miss out on the point that, when you're talking about this and you're talking about dealing with these organizations and bureaucracy and how everything moves, you have firsthand experience with this from having been part of the ADA
Hmm.
and part of, and exactly how that works. I know how it works from my history in law enforcement, also having been on different commissions and committees within the cities that I've worked for. Sir Crepitus, he knows about these things. So we're not speaking at this as, well, this is, why don't we try this? No, we know about these things and how these things work. It's not, we're not, not just coming into this blindly. We know it. We've been there. We've seen it. We've experienced it. And I think that, you far more than most of us, because mine was on a different level of dealing with bureaucracy, but yours was right in the heart of it. And you saw how it worked on a daily, day-to-day basis and what kind of monster it can be.
Did I tell you my funny story about this silly mayor of Anchorage one time? So they had just started the Americans with Disabilities Act Commission, and I wanted to be on the commission so bad, so I put my name in for it. Well, at the same time, we were having taxi. Did I tell you that story?
No.
So we were having taxi meetings because the new accessible taxi cabs, they put 4 medallions out, kind of like New York City, they had medallions for their taxi cabs. And so
Okay.
they put 4 medallions out that people could bid on. And the Federal Transit Administration had accessibility guidelines for the taxis, how steep the ramps needed to be, what
Right.
equipment needed to be in there, the tie downs, that sort of things. Well, our city commission decided that they were going to put the ramps, that the wheelchair accessible taxis needed to be mostly accessible. That was the legal terminology they wanted to put in there. Mostly
Mostly
accessible.
accessible.
Yeah, just
Isn't
mostly
isn't that such
accessible.
a government term though?
Just
You
so
know?
legal. And so
Yeah.
we fought it almost for a year that they couldn't put mostly, that they had to at least go by FTA guidelines. Well, John Hockenberry, he used to be with 2020, came up to do an event with us. And he jumped out of at the airport and went to get into a cab, and he said, "I'm not getting into that thing. I'm not getting into that death trap." And that kind of made me think going, we're right. We're right. This is wrong. They should not be this way. They have to at least go by the guidelines. So Mona had the long story longer is that I had put in my application for the ADA commission, never heard anything, never heard anything. Well, during this time, we were dealing with the cabs. Well, Mona had this idea. Oh, I have a good idea. This will be fun. Run or go the other way when Mona says that. I said, let's go handcuff ourselves to the chamber doors. Let's go protest. This was my one civil justice issue that
Your one
it was
act of
fun.
civil disobedience, huh?
My one act of civil disobedience. So they had these big glass doors out front of the commission chambers, of the city commission chambers. So a whole bunch of us in wheelchairs went and handcuffed ourselves, locked ourselves to the front of the doors. So that way the commissioners couldn't get in and people couldn't go get in. It was a hoot. It was fun. I never took into consideration they had a back door. You know, they could get in through the back door. But whatever. So anyways, to slap me on the hands for doing that, the mayor put me on the ethics commission.
Ooh.
Ooh, actually, it was fun, but it was a slap. It was a slap to
Yeah.
me saying, I still need you, and you're gonna do this. So
Yeah.
I ended up being on the ethics commission for 2 years, and as I said, it was still kind of fun, and I learned a lot from it. But that's my
Absolutely.
one civil disobedience.
Let's see. Shara Zona, on Mona's community page, she has what she wanted to address at the LAPD committee meeting. She had to email. Maybe that is something we who can't attend could do as well.
Exactly. You
That's
can
that's how
attend by you can attend by Zoom, call in, or you can email if you want them to read it beforehand or during it. It's before 5 o'clock on Monday because it's every Tuesday morning at 9:30 Pacific time. So if you want them to read it during the meeting, you have to fax or email it to them by 5 the previous day. Or if they don't get to you during the Zoom, you can email it after the meeting. So yeah, anybody from anywhere can do that. You do not have to live there to put your 2 cents in.
it's the police commission, isn't it? That's what the grouping
Yep,
is.
it is.
I'm on there, and I'm going to pull your form down real quick here, and I'm
Go
gonna
ahead.
pull
We're
this up so I can show
done except
everybody.
for the timeline anyways.
There we go. All right, give me 1 second here, folks. So, if you're wanting to know how that you can do that, this is their webpage, and that is for the LAPD Police Commission. And if you look right over here, right hand corner, they have a contact. They also have a get involved. So they have different things that you can do there, volunteer programs, of course, the Crime Stoppers and all that. But this is your first step in getting involved
There you
with
go.
them.
Meeting agenda.
Yeah, right there.
Left-hand side.
And here we go. And if you look,
Left, 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 left,
oh
left.
yeah,
There
I
you go.
was I was I was looking at that, but what got my eye was right here,
Oh, yeah.
public comments.
Yep.
So you go into that. Oh, isn't that interesting? Let's see what we got here. And the thing is look at all these different things that are going on. You all right? You can get involved. You can make comments. You can be part of these things. And it gives a whole list. Annual use of force year end report. All these different things that you can look into with the LAPD and ways that you can become involved with the Los Angeles Police Department and their police commission to what's going on there. Here's the agenda for their meeting, as we were talking about just a moment ago. So, I mean, this is all right here, and they put all this out here so everybody can see these things. All right, it's all right there. It's just a matter of making sure that you get involved and you make sure that you make your voice heard, not just, you know, say
And
I
I'm
want to
sure
do this.
every
Go ahead.
single one of your if you're not in LA and if you're in Austin or Denver or Chicago, you have the same information, might be
Mhm.
different terminology, but you're gonna have the same type of information for you to look through.
Absolutely. Almost every department, well, any big department's going to have some kind of organization like this within it. Your
Sure,
smaller departments, it's going to be through the mayor and council or the county commission or something like that. But your big departments, they have these kinds of organizations where they have, they and a lot of them they didn't do it because they wanted to. They did it because they were forced to allow people from the community to have input into what was going on with their departments. And that all came about because mayors and council members and things like that they got worried that I'm not going to have my position anymore. I'm not going to be mayor. I'm not going to be I'm not going to have this cushy job where I don't have to really do anything if I don't do something that makes the public happy.
you mean it's
So,
not really a kingdom?
oh, they certainly think it is, but that's the problem is that, a lot of people think that they are, um, a lot of people think that when it comes to the elected officials, so many of them get in there and they get themselves so deep rooted. It can be hard sometimes to get them unelected, but all it takes is the right topic that you show to the public that can get them forced out of their position. And
Right.
it happens very quickly with social media nowadays. So you have a lot more strength than you've ever had previously. And it's all right here,
So on
right
that
there.
last agenda item that I had on there was timing,
Right.
and you don't always have to know the bureaucracy's federal, fiduciary timeline. You don't have to know what their cutoff dates are. Sometimes the timing is right now, there's a new OIG. I think Mark Smith is going to Portland. I don't remember the whole thing. He was gonna go to Portland, he isn't, whatever. There's an interim chief of police right now. They're looking for a new chief of police. So, is it the best time right now to make complaints, or would it be better like talking with Streets, he says, "No, I think I'm gonna wait to make the complaints till after a new chief of police. That way it's all there." But then maybe it's best if you do it now because the interim chief of police doesn't want it on his desk, so he's going to take care of it quicker. Who knows? I guess it's maybe how you handle it, but you still need to
Right.
look at the timeline of what's going on.
Let's also remember that every chief of police, when they take over from the predecessor, they're taking on all of the headaches that their predecessor left there for them. It's
Mm,
not, you look at the new chief, the interim chief there in LAPD. One of the things that bothers me, but could also be a strength in having an interim chief is that chief more than likely doesn't expect to be the next chief or the permanent chief. They expect to hold that position for a certain amount of time. So they could go one of two ways. They could either be the kind, I'm just riding this out till I move on, or I'm going to make some serious changes right here, right now. So that's what we have to figure out with what this current chief is and what his stance is and what he's willing to do. If he's just one of those that I'm just here to make the paycheck for now and I'm not worrying about it, then we have to wait till the new chief gets in before we can start doing things. But those are the things, those are literally things we have to look at when it comes through that. So what's up?
Gary Mackey's comment.
Let's see.
Oh, thanks for the laugh, man. That made me laugh. Oh, did I
that
fix it? No.
Oh man, there's so much. I get, believe me, I know how it is. I get OCD just about the microphone here. Um, yeah, and that's the thing, Sir Crepitus. Sir Crepitus is saying the current chief of LAPD is an interim chief. I don't see him making much change, but you got to try. I've seen interim chiefs come in and they see that as their opportunity to make their mark on the world,
It
and
is.
they come in
Well,
and they want to tear things up. So,
true, and then you have to think of what's the priority and what's the importance of what you're complaining about or what you need for them to do. I mean,
mhm,
if it's something that there could be a huge, oh, Penny, stop, leave me alone, go lay down, go lay down. You know, if there could be a huge excessive force issue that's I mean, it needs to happen right away.
right,
Timing, who gives a hoot? Who cares
yeah.
who's in there? It needs to happen and it needs to be told. Um, that's okay, you guys. It's not crooked on my end. I don't
Tilt,
know.
tilt it more. My gosh. Shara, the thing is that those committee meetings, they're not supposed to be able to respond. They're supposed to sit there, they're supposed to listen to the public comments, things like that. The chief's supposed to give their report, they're supposed to listen to everybody else. It's not really supposed to be a back and forth kind of thing. I can tell you, I've been to mayor and council meetings as a chief of police. My job isn't to respond there on the floor to public comments. And I've had people, I had one guy go, "Well, you just sat there and you didn't say anything." Well, that's because that's my job. My job is to
You're really
let you
not
have your,
supposed to.
yeah,
But
my job.
that first public comment session, when I had addressed the help sign in the window, I was floored that the OIG, Mark Smith, stopped the meeting to give me contact information.
Yeah.
I was floored.
I was
And so
equally
I
surprised.
jumped on it.
I was equally surprised when he stopped Becky and said, "Can you talk to that detective behind you?"
Yep.
That's a really rare thing, folks.
That was the chief
So,
of police. That was Chief Choi.
yep.
Yeah.
And that's rare. You don't normally see that. You're normally going to see a stone face and they're going to sit there, they're going to listen to everything, they're not going to react, they're just going to deal with the situation as it is, just let you speak.
Right.
And, for a chief or an OIG to actually stop, make comment, give contact information, those kinds of things, that's very, very rare. So you can't go by what you see at like these commission meetings and things like that as, well, they were very stoic and I didn't see anything out of them. I don't think they're doing anything. That doesn't really, that's not the indicator of how things are going. Um,
Right.
and that's the thing, Shar, is yeah, I sat there and everybody is, I even made the comments myself, they're, wish I had a camera behind there to see if they're on TikTok or, they're texting or whatever. But that's how it is with those kinds of meetings. You have to get used to that. And if you're not
It
used to
is.
bureaucracy and the way that committees work, that's how it is.
It
So,
is. That's why, like, when Becky was very blunt, that's
mhm,
that's just the way you need to be because you need to get their attention. You don't have to be
yep,
rude. You don't have to be crude, but you need
right.
to tell it like it is. That's you get
And
3 minutes. That's it.
yep. And CHITSA OIG is the Office of the Inspector General. It's going to be different in different locations, different organizations, but the inspector general is basically someone who looks into complaints against an organization and then moves forward with how they're going to handle if the complaint is true or if it's not true, what they're going to do and how they're going to handle it. So that's what
Right.
the OIG is.
Right.
Um, so let's see here. I'm just looking through all the comments here. I've been trying not to. I'm like a kid in a candy store. I want to, I see all the comments and all the chat that's going on. I can't stay away from it. And Laura Waldy's had to put chat in slow down modes several times because of it. But
I'm
so
enjoying this. The last time we lived together, I must have had it on private chat too because I didn't see any of the comments and I was bummed.
oh
I'm like, "Oh, I wanna see the comments too," and, as I said, user error.
We've been very fortunate with, we haven't had a huge amount of trolls in the last few lives that I've had, but they've been coming out. Becky's had them in her lives where they've just been trouncing her and saying horrible things. So, and that's another reason why I try to stay on top of the chat, is because I'm trying to, I want to make sure we don't have trolls in there doing things. And I'm believe me, I thank God I've got people like Laura and Gary Mackey. I've got my great mods that are in here, with Sunrise Dawn, and they're able to handle things so that I don't have to worry about, the trolls and all that. But
I feel a little deprived because I didn't get to say hello to my twinsy Mona.
Oh, Mona Engler. Yeah, there you go. So, all right. So, folks, this has been, like I said, I've been trying to move into not just pointing out what's wrong with Scientology, why they need to be dealt with. I'm trying to move on with having different points of not just this is what's wrong, but this is things that we can do to start making a difference in it. And I hope that you are listening and learning, and that you're understanding, and that it's also entertaining at the same time, because we don't just want to turn these into just lectures, but we also want to make sure that you're enjoying being here. And it's going to continue, because Sunday night we've got Mona's coming back. We're going to have Becky back on Sunday night, and I don't think I'm going to be able to talk at all between the two of them. So but you know what, let them have at it, and I'll just sit here and let them go with it. But the fact is that these are voices that have to be heard, and it's very important that we put it out there. We have two people who are giving themselves into this fight. Becky's been drug into it because she was a volunteer to the community, and they drug her into this. And Mona saw what was going on, wanted to help, had the ability to help, and was able to bring the fight to it as well. So we have two great people that are volunteering, and people that you normally wouldn't expect to see in this deep in a fight. But here they are. And they're showing that, yes, you can do it. Yes, it is possible. Yes, anybody can make a difference in what's going on. And before we leave out, Mona, do you have any closing comments that you want to make on things?
Just that I want to reiterate my sorrow and apologies because Becky didn't know that I wasn't in LA. I forgot to tell her that I was in Michigan. I just assumed that she knew. So I am so sorry for that. And when I do end up getting to LA, I'm a demand some good old guacamole and tacos. Yum, yum.
See, I can't stand avocados, so it's just a texture thing for me. But yeah, I can't wait to get out there. I want some good cooking from Becky, and I want to do some cooking for her, and let her, just show her she's appreciated, show her some love. Um, folks, I can't beat this drum hard enough. Everybody has the ability. Everybody has a part that they can play in this. You don't have to be here on YouTube. You don't have to be out there protesting or auditing. You have a voice, and you can make that voice be heard. You have an opportunity that you can actually help to bring about the end of probably one of the most evil private organizations that there's ever been. You have that ability to be part of that. And when people talk about, history of happening around them and not being part of it, and if they had just made one single change in what was going on in them, they could have been part of that history. And this is your opportunity to become part of that movement and move forward and make things happen, and bringing down an organization, bringing history to bear right here, right now. And
So
it,
before you do your closing, I do have
yeah,
one more thing.
go ahead.
And this is another Monaism. If you really want something, if you really want it, you make it happen. If not, you make an excuse.
I've talked about it many times before on here, how, my children, even other YouTubers have asked, well, how, I talk about people that I talk to that I know, and they're like, how did you get to talk to that person? I tried. I did it. I just got hold of them one way or another. How did you get to do that? How did you experience that? Because I tried. And that's so important, folks, is just making that effort, taking that first move. It's like a chess game. You're never going to be able to win a chess game if you don't move that first pawn. You've got to get out there and you've got to do it. And hopefully we can give you the inspiration and start giving you the tools to start putting your kit together, to start making those changes so that you can sit there and say, I was part of that. I helped to do that. No
Yeah, I
more
can't
children.
wait for that. I can't
That's the
wait for
thing.
that. And
And
whoever asked for the paperwork, Poe's got the document. He can put it on his wall.
I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in my community page, and then I'll share it on a couple of the I wanted to make sure it was okay with you first, but I'll share it on a couple of Facebook pages as well, and as
Oh,
well as
most
the poll on
most
the Facebook.
certainly. You
Absolutely.
bet it.
So, folks, thank you all for joining us tonight. Come back Sunday night when I'm going to have both Mona and Becky on here. We're going to talk about the continuation of the fight that is going on with the LAPD and how that Becky was treated by the LAPD and what we can do to start bringing about the changes in that organization. And I thank you all so much. Every second
Thank
that
you,
you spend
Poe.
with
Thank
us,
you all.
you get back. Yes, thank you, Mona. You, like I said, you're an inspiration that I don't think you realize just how much you are, but you are an inspiration and you are truly showing people that it's possible. And folks, like I said, if you don't make that first move, you'll never know how the game plays out. You can either be part of it or you can be on the sidelines watching. Everybody has the ability to join into this one and be part of the fight. But life is short. You get one shot, make it count.